ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकयः चक्षुरः उन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. So today we begin reading a new book, Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, by author Sattva Swarupa, Volume 1. A biography of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, second and enlarged edition, Sattva Swarupa, Dasa Goswami. Preface. After the disappearance of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada from this mortal world on November 14, 1977, many of his disciples saw a need for an authorized biography of Srila Prabhupada. The responsibility of commissioning such a work rested with the governing body commission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. At their annual meeting in 1978, the GBC resolved that a biography of Srila Prabhupada should be written and that I would be the author. According to the Vaishnava tradition, if one aspires to write transcendental literature, he must first take permission from his spiritual master and Krishna. A good example of this is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's authorized biography, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. As Krishnadas Kaviraj has explained, in Vrindavan, there were also many other great devotees. All of them desired to hear the last pastime of Lord Chaitanya. By their mercy, all these devotees ordered me to write of the last pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of their order only, although I am a shameless, I have attempted to write this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Having received the order of the Vaishnavas, but being anxious within my heart, I went back to the temple of Madana Mohana in Vrindavan to ask his permission also. So to say the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita is an authorized biography does not mean that it is a flattering portrait commissioned by an official body, but that it is an authorized literature presented by one who is serving the order of Krishna and Guru through the disciplic succession. As such, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita is not written from the mundane or speculative viewpoint, nor can ordinary biographers comprehend the significance and meaning of the life of a pure devotee of God. Were such persons to objectively study the life of Srila Prabhupada, the esoteric meanings would evade them. Were they to charitably try to praise Srila Prabhupada, they would not know how. But because Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita is authorized through the transcendental process, it can transparently present the careful reader with a true picture of Srila Prabhupada. Another important aspect of the authenticity of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita is the vast amount of carefully researched information that I am able to focus into each volume. The leading devotee of Krishna consciousness movement, in addition to giving me permission to render this work, have also invited the world community of ISKCON devotees to help me in gathering detailed information about the life and person of Srila Prabhupada. The Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, Prabhupada's publishing house, has given me his collection of letters, totaling over 7,000, and scores of Prabhupada's disciples have granted interviews and submitted diaries and members of the association with Srila Prabhupada. Aside from his disciples, we have interviewed many persons in various walks of life who met Srila Prabhupada over the years. The result is that we have a rich composite view of Srila Prabhupada drawn from many persons who knew him in many different situations and stages of his life. The acknowledgements section in this book lists the persons who cooperated to bring about Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. Despite the authorized nature of this book and despite the support of many well-wishers, I must confess that in attempting to describe the glories of our spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, I'm like a small bird trying to empty the ocean by carrying drops of water to the land. The picture I have given of Srila Prabhupada is only a glimpse into his unlimited mercy, and that glimpse has only been possible by the grace of Guru and Krishna. Stop here, Prabhuji. So basically, these are the acknowledgements and the list of many persons who cooperated to make this biography of Srila Prabhupada. So, proceeding to introduction. From childhood, Srila Prabhupada worshipped Lord Krishna, understanding him to be the supreme personality of Godhead, the source of all existence. And beginning at age 22, after his first meeting with his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada became more and more active in spreading the teachings of Lord Krishna. In Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita Volume 1, we see Srila Prabhupada struggling alone to publish Back to Godhead magazine, personally typing, editing, visiting the printer, and then distributing the copies on the streets of New Delhi, working alone in Jhansi, India. Prabhupada gathered a few part-time followers to create the League of Devotees, an early attempt to enact his vision of introducing people from all nations, races, and levels of society to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada was still alone as he arrived in America in 1965, but he was filled with faith in Krishna and determination to establish Krishna consciousness in the West and thus fulfill the desire of his spiritual master and the prediction of the scriptures and previous saints. Young men and women on New York's Lower East Side joined, attracted not so much to Vedic culture as to Swamiji and his chanting of Hare Krishna. Thus, beginning from a small storefront, Srila Prabhupada introduced the Hare Krishna movement to America. We follow Srila Prabhupada to San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury during the hippie heyday of 1967, as he establishes his Krishna consciousness movement there, just he had done in New York City. Then in May of 67, he appeared to suffer a heart attack and retired to India to recuperate. It became even clearer that the Krishna consciousness movement, its life and its growth depended entirely upon him. Although a few dozen sincere workers were dedicated to his service, they felt helpless and incompetent to do any missionary work, or even to maintain their own spiritual vows to abstain from illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, unless he were personally present to lead them. In December 1967, Srila Prabhupada returned to America and his young spiritual family. As Srila Prabhupada would comment several years later, his movement did not really begin until his return to America in December 1967. His time was limited. He knew the heart attack had proven that. Now, in whatever time was left, he had to accomplish his mission. And as his International Society for Krishna Consciousness began to grow, it gradually spread beyond its simple and sometimes humorous beginnings to become a spiritual institution considered noteworthy even among world religions. Want me to stop here, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
So just to summarize, we know that initially any author who wants to write on biography of a great devotee, pure devotee personality, would really feel humble and always take an permission of their spiritual masters and on to Krishna himself. Here the author is trying to uh, quote similarly of Krishna Kaviraj, who also had, when being requested by all other devotees to write about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he himself felt that he is not capable yet. He took the permission of all the devotees and spiritual masters, and finally on to Krishna. Similarly, here Sattva Swarupa also, because of the need of all other devotees being felt the need that when during after the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada, they felt that they should be working and publishing an biography on Srila Prabhupada. So we see in introduction that it begins with Prabhupada's childhood, where it clearly mentioned that Srila Prabhupada from childhood was already a Krishna devotee, and who already knew that Sri Krishna himself is the cause of everything, and he is a super soul and existence. So, um, at the age of 22, Srila Prabhupada meets his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Saraswati Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he begins to start taking interest and preaching in Krishna consciousness. However, that doesn't ripen and comes to his dream fulfillment until the age of 1965, I guess, when he comes to America, and he really establishes Krishna consciousness, beginning in a very small the storefront in New York with a very few devotees. Although the devotees were not so much attracted towards the Vedic junctions and scriptures, yet they were being getting attracted by the Sankirtan of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And from there, the movement Srila Prabhupada takes to San Francisco to the hippie groups. And in the meantime, as he suffers another heart attack in 1967, and he returns to India to to recover his health. In the meantime, here the small group, whatever the Krishna movement was established, they became helpless, and they really felt that they couldn't take over the mission any further. Not only about taking the mission further, they themselves were not able to continue the devotional service in the absence of Srila Prabhupada. So at something clicks to my mind about this incident, that shows that the power of the spiritual masters association. So in his presence, a pure spiritual master, pure devotee of Sri Krishna, in the association of the pure devotee, any person can be able to walk in the path of devotional service. So in their absence, in his absence, it was difficult for the other devotees. And when Srila Prabhupada came back, there was a life to that moment. And even it was awakening for Srila Prabhupada himself, realizing that he had a very less time and he had a lot to achieve and establish Krishna consciousness throughout the world. As we go by, we are more enthused to know understand his struggle and the effort and the kind of an approach he took to establish Krishna consciousness, and looking forward to read more along with all your devotees, so that we all